Did you hear that?
Yep.
Oh, the other thing is you can introduce yourself however you want. So,
Okay.
if you're an alcoholic, great. If you're just Victoria, that's great too. But with that, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I'm Victoria Brammer, recovering alcoholic, drug addict. Um, Growing up, my dad is an addict, and then my mom has always struggled with mental illness. And I have two younger brothers. And so as being the oldest, I stepped up a lot and helped with my younger brothers. And my the my brother, who's a year and a half younger than me, he struggled with addiction from the time he was 14. And so I had a lot of experience on the family side of addiction for a good portion of my life, and moderately smoked weed in high school, and then in my early 20s had some experiences with alcohol, but it was pretty moderate. um, Really, I focused on my career. I had my kid at 19. Um, and then me and my ex-husband got divorced when he was about a year and a half, and I was full on focused on my career. I built a pretty good career for myself. Climbed the corporate ladder, I would say, and was doing good. And I think I built this foundation of always climbing. And I moved a lot in my life until I bought my house about 4 years ago. I had moved at least once every year of my life. I went to almost 20 different schools from kindergarten to 12th grade. Um, and then I hit this point where I got to the top of my ladder and I accomplished my goals and I didn't have new goals. And 2020 came around and the world changed. I went working from home, which was not my ideal situation. And that changed everything for me. And I realize now that I had a lot of cracks in my foundation, and I didn't have them filled. I didn't have the support. I moved farther away from my family at that time when I was buying my house closer to where my son's dad lives. Um, and I started drinking a lot more, like every day. And I started this cycle. Got my Adderall prescription doubled, and that created another cycle. And year over year, it was just getting worse and worse. And I think I made the excuse of, well, I'm not drinking or using as much as my dad or my brother, so it's not that big of a problem. I'm still showing up to work. I'm still taking care of my son. I'm still doing these things, but I created this cycle of take my Adderall, sometimes abusing my Adderall, then drinking to come down from the Adderall, then smoking weed to go to sleep and have an appetite. And it just was this cycle. And it got worse and worse. Then I found a new community at bars since I wasn't close to my family or friends anymore. And my family became my bar friends, which I met a lot of great people, but they weren't living a life that was part of the trajectory that I had created for myself. And so, bit by bit, I tore my whole life apart in a matter of about 5 years. I stopped caring about my job. Um, and I bought a house. I was making six figures, all these things that were great, but I had no purpose for myself anymore. And I stopped caring about myself completely. So I just started tearing away at that. And I demolished my house, never rebuilt it. And I went down in my career till I got laid off and didn't even care that I got laid off last year, and started bartending because that's where my community was. Um, Before I lost my job, I was going to the bar at lunch. I would sneak away, go get lunch at the bar, but my lunch was two shots of tequila. And I just created this pattern and this routine of drinking and using and surrounding myself with the wrong people. I would miss out on times with my son if I was with him. The times that I had him, was physically there, but I wasn't mentally there. And I didn't enjoy doing anything that he enjoyed doing. And so I would be there physically, and then, okay, he's going to go to bed. My brother's home. So I'm going to go to the bar and go to karaoke. And just everything fell apart. I didn't have a job. I wasted all my savings on alcohol and whatever other bad behaviors I had with my money. And my house was in shambles. And I hit this point where I'm like, what did I do to myself? And that was October of last year. And I was actually talking to a friend at the bar who had been struggling with alcohol. And she said, I found this place that's local here in Ogden. And I tried it out last week, and I think I'm going to keep going. And I said, I'd love to check it out. I need to change. I don't want this life for myself. And I don't know why I did this to myself. And so I started going to RA, Recovering Addict, and met this amazing group of people. And we go 3 times a week for 2 hours. We work out for an hour, and then we have peer-to-peer group for an hour. And I haven't drank since I stopped my Adderall prescription. Instead, I maintain my ADHD with good diet, exercise, and routines. I've learned how to set good routines now, to where from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I know what I'm doing. I plan my days, I plan my weeks, and I have goals for myself. That's a huge thing that we do at Recovering Addict is goal setting. And we focus on 4 areas of our life of bio, psycho, social, and spiritual. I've come back to my relationship with God, and oh my gosh, my stress and anxiety about all the uncertainties that come in life are relieved in so many ways, because being able to just turn it to my higher power and know that it's going to be okay, it ends up being okay. And then I'm not going down this tumbling effect of, I've got to fix this right now. I got to fix this right now. When half of the things that I'm trying to fix aren't even in my control. Now I focus on what's in my control. If it's not, God's going to take care of it for me. And I just have to trust in that and have faith in that. And it's in the past almost 5 months that has worked out so well for me. I've gotten closer with my son. Actually, it's incredible. My son, he tells everybody about group. And that's one thing I did right after I started group is I told my whole family. And they didn't even know I had a problem. I had a job. I had all these things going for me. And a lot of people didn't know that I even had a problem. So I told my family, I told my friends, I made sure to tell everybody so I wouldn't have those back doors of escaping and isolating myself from the people who really love me. And that's where I've learned about my relationships too, is the people who care about me don't want me at bars. So this community and family that I built for myself at bars, I've realized real quick that's not a family. That's not people who care about me. People who care about me will call me out when I'm doing bullshit that's not good for me. And that's a real sign of love. And I was actually shocked. I was terrified to tell my family, aside from my parents, my grandparents and aunts, uncles, everybody, they're religious. And I was pretty scared to tell them that I had this problem and that I was in recovery. And I told them, and there was nothing but love from them. And that was such an incredible feeling for me, that I could just be open. I've even told my job now. So I got my job back at my company and back on my career path. I've had to take a few steps back so that I can work on myself, so I don't have as much responsibility. But I've told my job where I'm at, and they're like, that's amazing. Keep doing what you need to do. How can we support you? And just getting that message and everything from everybody around me has been encouraging. The things that I do to maintain my sobriety is, like I said, routine, understanding what the triggers are and the behaviors I need to avoid. So isolation. It's so easy to isolate when things are hard. And as I've noticed in the last 5 months, kind of go through these gray waves where it's like, okay, I'm doing all the things, but I'm feeling blah. And that's, I think, what I've learned so far. That's, I'm still rewiring my brain to not have that dopamine from drugs and alcohol. And so riding that gray has been hard to understand, but with the group, that's what makes it easier to get through it. We have a group chat, and when you have those triggers, the first thing I do is tell the group, and it helps me stay accountable. There was one day that I specifically was having a hard day. My brother ended up going to a rehab, and I was so proud of him. It's kind of trickled across my family, which has been great. But I had to go clean out his apartment, and I was overwhelmed, and I just had this thought like, oh, go to the bar and you'll feel better. I'm like, that's the stupidest thought ever. But why am I thinking that? And I keep getting this urge, like, just go to the bar and you can just say hi to some people and you'll feel better. And so I immediately messaged the group and said, I have this urge to go to the bar after cleaning out my brother's apartment. I'm going to go to the coffee shop and listen to the David Goggins book that we've been talking about instead. And I did that before I even left my brother's house, because then on the way, I wasn't going to have this like, oh, well, I can just, because I just have felt those trickling effects of you have the thought and they could just be fed so easily. And so I told the group, went to the coffee shop, did exactly what I was going to say, and just being able to say it out loud or even in a message, it helps with the accountability. Other times I've been triggered, I have my support list, and my youngest brother who lives with me is on the top of that list, and I'll just call him and say, hey, I'm thinking about drinking. Hey, I really want to hit up a friend and get some Adderall because I feel like I can't focus and I want to push the easy button. And the second I say it out loud, it takes so much power away from the thoughts, and it doesn't keep feeding. I can just move on from it once I say it out loud. And that has been so important for me every time I've had those times. And then just what it's done for my son. My son knows when I have group, and he reminds me, he's like, Mom, don't you have group? We can't do that on Wednesday because you have group. And so it's just, as much as I said it wasn't a problem, like it wasn't that bad. It wasn't affecting my son that bad, because if I went to the bar or was drinking, he didn't notice. He noticed. He's 10 now. He turned 10 last weekend, and he taught me how to play Fortnite the last few months, and it's been incredible. I'm not good at it, but he's noticed the change in me. Even a couple weeks ago, we passed by a bar, and my brother said, didn't you go to karaoke there before and stuff? And I was like, yeah, I was in that one. And my son goes, you're not going to karaoke, are you? And he got emotional about it, and it kind of broke my heart at first. And it does break my heart for that, but that it had such an impact on him. Just me saying, like, going to karaoke, he knew what that meant. It meant I was going out drinking, and that hurt him. And I was like, no, but I don't go to karaoke anymore. I don't go to karaoke anymore. And if I do karaoke, it's at home with you, and we're doing karaoke together. And he's like, okay. But because it hit him hard, it made me think how grateful I am that I've been on this path now, because that could have gotten so much worse for me. It could have gotten so much worse for my son. And I'm just beyond grateful for finding a good group that holds me accountable, gives me the tools I need to be successful, because it changed my life. It's changed my son's life. And it's just had this trickle effect on my family. And that's just been incredible. I've also gotten back into school this year. I am refusing to be mediocre now. I have goals. I know what I want for myself. And it's nothing that I was doing a year ago. I want to have an impact on people, and I've just taken a huge turn in the other direction of I want to do hard things and enjoy doing hard things. So between exercising, learning, I learn something new every day, um, and am working towards getting a new degree in communications and criminal justice. I want to try to help people, so I want to go down that path, and that's just where things have gone.
That's great. Will you just tell us real quick? You mentioned biophysical, social, and spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Just what do you mean by bio and physical and spiritual? What are those?
So bio is health. Um, Psycho is your mental, and then social, so the social interactions, and then spiritual, just your connection with a higher power. And in group, we talk about it. Your higher power can be your God. Another higher power is the group itself, trusting and having faith in the group itself.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
How's it?